There's a shakeup atop the MLB Power Rankings this week. Matt Snyder still has the Braves at 1, but there are changes to the rest of the top 5. Cubs are the biggest risers, moving up 13 spots to come in at number 4. The biggest fallers this week, Mariners down 11 spots to 24. All right, let's welcome in our Power Rankings guru, Matt Snyder, and MLB insider Jim Bowden. So again, as we do every week, Matt will talk about his rankings, Jim, with any differences, plus team news, for instance, with the Braves and Spencer Strider. But first things first, Matt, why did you keep Atlanta at number 1?
Well, I mean, it's 6-2 start so far. They're hitting 300 as a team with a .532 slugging percentage, which is ridiculous. Again, small sample, only 8 games. I know there are concerns with Spencer Strider being hurt, but they went through this last year. Max Fried was hurt for a big chunk of the season. Kyle Wright basically didn't pitch at all, and he had been a 20-game winner in the previous season. Chris Sale's been very good so far. Charlie Morton's been very good. They have pitching depth to deal with the Strider injury, and hey, Fried's back, so I think that they're probably going to be okay. Again, they lost Fried for most of last year. They lost Wright for a big chunk, and they still won 104 games, so I'm not about to demote them when they started 6-2.
I'm not sure I know what's more powerful, if it's the eclipse or if it's Matt Snyder's power rankings, to be honest with you. But one thing we can both agree upon, the Atlanta Braves lineup 1-9 is the best in baseball. They've got power, they've got speed, they have no weaknesses, and more importantly, their defensive team is as good as any in baseball. They have a plus defender or gold glover at every single position. So I understand why Matt has them at number 1. I think they belong there for now, but let's not downplay this injury to Spencer Strider. I talked to Alex Anthopoulos, the president of the Atlanta Braves, over the weekend. There's no doubt his season is over. Regardless of what procedure they do to the elbow, there's that much damage in the ligament, and that's the ace. Las Vegas had him winning the Cy Young Award this year. He was the favorite. The other thing that's concerning is Max Fried's first 2 starts of the year have not looked good. And remember, he only made 14 starts last year because of injury. If they don't have Strider or Fried, it's going to be tough for them with the aging Chris Sale and Charlie Morton to be able to sit there and remain at the top of this list. But for now, I'll buy into this powerful power ranking.
2 things here. Spencer Strider was last year's strikeout king, and then Jim just took off the shades, but Jim is eclipse ready, I can tell you that. Let's move on to the power rankings with the Chicago Cubs in the top 5 with that 6-3 start. And Matt, has a lot to do with the lineup so far this year.
Yeah, and maybe I'm aggressive with this one, and I'm sure if I have been a little too aggressive, Jim will let me know, but just took 2 of 3 from the Dodgers. They lost 2 of 3 to the Rangers to start the year, but the first game went into extra innings, and Christopher Morel's would-be grand slam was about 8 feet too far foul. So they're really, really close to being 7-2. Not that easy of a schedule. They did take care of business against the terrible Rockies, but yeah, the lineup is deep. They lead the majors in walk percentage and in on-base percentage. They're 26th in strikeout percentage. So you've got a team that is very good at putting the ball in play, always has traffic on the bases. That puts a lot of pressure on opposing defenses, and the rotation. Steele's hurt right now. It seems like almost everybody is losing their ace early in the season, but it's only a hamstring injury. He shouldn't be out that long. Jamison Tyon's almost back. Imanaga looks great. So I really like the Cubs right now.
I mean, look, the Dodgers should be second on this list, but after the Cubs beat them 2 out of 3, I understand why he catapulted the Cubs over them. And I think, Tommy, one of the big stories for the Cubs this year has been the southpaw Shota Imanaga. I mean, he's been unbelievable in his 2 starts. No one knew what to expect when he came over to the Cubs, and yet here he's looking like an ace after just 2 starts, 10 innings, 4 hits. How about no walks and 12 punch-outs? He's been throwing 96, 97 and locating it. He's had a wipeout breaking ball. I mean, he has been absolutely just dominant, to say the least. Also, Javier Assad, his first start, 6 innings, 4 hit a shutout baseball as well. So that has been huge news for the Cubs besides the offense. And look, as Matt was saying, Chris Morel may have his breakout year. He's hitting .306 with 2 homers. Seiya Suzuki got hot the second half of last year. He already leads the Chicago Cubs with 12 RBIs. To go along with a couple of homers. And over the weekend, well, Michael Busch got revenge against the Dodgers, who traded him to the Cubs in the offseason, and he's off to a strong start. We'll see if he can maintain it, but 8 for 27 with a home run and 5 RBIs. So it's been a fun start to the season for the Chicago Cubs, but understand this. the NL Central, all 5 teams are going to have a shot in this division. And don't be surprised in his power rankings week to week if teams don't mix and match and jump over each other every single week, because that's how much parity we have right now in the NL Central.
I like where your head's at, Jim, because we're going to talk about the Pirates next. They took the series from the Orioles. They're 8-2. Matt, last week you talked about them being a fool's gold candidate, and again, it's still early, but what has surprised you about this Bucks team, and what concerns you still about this Pittsburgh team?
Well, there's a tenacity to them. They had those 2 comeback wins against the Baltimore Orioles, and that's where, you started 8-2. I feel like I should reward you. I should move you up. I do not think that they're going to stick here long term, but I do think there's a chance, as Jim mentioned, for all 5 NL Central teams to be in the mix here for the long haul. Heading into the year when we did the gambling show on the win totals, I said I wouldn't be surprised if any one of these 5 teams won the Central. Now, the Pirates are down the list for me. I had them 4th heading into the year, but I really do. Look, it looks like they have a pair of superstars in O'Neill, Cruz, and Key, Brian Hayes. Maybe not superstars, just stars. Jared Jones looks great in the rotation so far. The back end of the bullpen, you thought heading into the year, Aroldis Chapman, David Bednar are going to be a really good duo at the back. They've been great, but also Josh Fleming, Hunter Stratton, they've been great in the late innings. They're 3-0 in extra inning games so far. Like I said, a lot of tenacity there, and getting 2 of 3 from a very, very good Orioles team was very impressive and was worthy of rewarding them.
And I do think O'Neill Cruz will be a superstar in time. He's off to a great starting 333, 14 for 42 with a couple home runs and a stolen base. And he is one of the more exciting players to watch in baseball. And when he hits the ball, it literally is a missile. And Brian Hayes finally won his first Gold Glove last year. We knew that was coming. He's hitting 325 to start the year, playing Gold Glove defense. The question is, can he learn to lift the ball to hit for more power? That's going to be the big question in his game, whether he becomes a star or not. But in terms of the Pirates and their pathway to staying competitive in this division the whole year with a shot, a lot of it does have to do with Jared Jones, the rookie. Now, he was a 2nd-round pick out of La Mirada High School in 2020 by the Pirates. He has made 2 starts so far this year for Pittsburgh. And how about 17 strikeouts and only 2 walks in 11 2/3 innings? He's been dominant. So if Fletcher can come back, if Mitch Keller can come back and be the pitcher he was the first half of last year with Jared Jones, that gives them 2 strong starters at the top. And remember this, they have the best pitching prospect in baseball right now in AAA in Paul Skeens, who was the 1st overall pick in last June's draft. Now, he has pitched 6 innings so far in the minor leagues, 11 strikeouts. That should not be a surprise, and 1 walk. Now, I talked to Ben Cherington, the general manager of the Pittsburgh Pirates, yesterday on Sunday, and I asked him to give me a timetable on Skeens, because as I said to him, I said, look, this division is winnable. If you bring up Skeens and you combine him with Jones and Keller, all of a sudden you got a 3-man rotation at the top that literally can keep you in this thing the whole season long. He recognizes it. He sees it the same way. Now, what he told me is he won't give me a timetable, but he did say this. He said, we're building up his arm now. We're trying to get him innings here in April, and then we'll see where it goes from there. It sounds to me like, let's keep him in the minors for the month of April. Let's make sure we get that extra year of control, and then let's bring him up in May and make a run here. But if the Pirates keep winning, it's going to be tough, Tommy and Matt, for them to keep him in the minor leagues, because he's a difference maker.
Love the insight, Jim. And instead of focusing on the biggest faller, we are still going to focus on a riser. Matt Snyder, Boston. What stood out to you about their West Coast roadie to start the year?
Well, first off, I like the positivity, right? We got to go all positive and talking about the followers. That's good. Impressive start to the season for the Red Sox. They haven't even been home yet. 7-3 West Coast trip. I talked to Liam Hendricks before the season started, and he said one of the reasons he signed with the Red Sox was they tend to punch above their weight. They're doing that so far. A 7-3 West Coast road trip. The rotation's been unbelievable. Tanner Houck, Nick Pivetta, Cutter Crawford, and Garrett Whitlock have all been amazing to start the year. I don't know if this is sustainable, but I definitely thought that they needed to be bumped up into the top 10 with that impressive of a road trip. Plus, I know that in the last couple of years, if I didn't have the Red Sox ranked high enough, I had to deal with Will Middlebrooks over text, and I didn't want to have to do that again. So I thought that I would move them up into the top 10 just to avoid the wrath of Will, if nothing else.
You know, the Red Sox have only had 2 players in their lineup hit to start the year. So they're winning. It's only been Tyler O'Neill, who's hitting 357 with 5 home runs, by the way, all solo shots. a 1407 OPS. And Jarren Duran, who's 15 for 43 with 6 stolen bases and 7 attempts. Nobody else has hit. I mean, Rafael Devers hitting 219. Trevor Story's injured. He's going to be out months, not weeks. Yoshida only has 2 extra base hits. So they only have 2 guys scoring the runs. But as Matt mentioned, Crawford, Houck, Pivetta, and Whitlock, all 4 of them have made 2 starts, and all of their ERAs start with a 0. I'm not making this up. Now, that is not sustainable, but it's been impressive. Now, how have they done it? GM Craig Breslow and Andrew Bailey in the pitching room have decided they're going to throw more secondary pitches and fastballs. So they are completely changing the pitch sequencing of all the Red Sox pitchers, and at least early in the season, it's working. We'll see if it's sustainable when teams start to really understand what they're doing and they start to make their adjustments. But for those 4 starters, they couldn't have gotten off to better starts.